28 years, boys and girls. 28 years. And he's finally canon. And this isn't Dragon Ball Heroes. This is legit. We officially live in the future because Super Saiyan 4 is now canon. That's right, Dragon Ball Daima is officially over, and man, I cannot help but think about how much Dragon Ball has changed and done over the past couple of years. Look, I'm in my 20s, so I remember that long Dragon Ball drought we got before 2013. And I hate to pick all the member berries here.
Yeah, remember Alex? Remember? Hey, remember Ghost?
But I remember when Battle of Gods was coming out and everyone thought Goku was gonna go Super Saiyan 4 in that movie. But let me tell you, back then it was a huge debate about whether or not they'd bring things from non-canon into canon. I mean, I really cannot believe they made Super Saiyan 4 canon, entertained a fan fiction transformation like Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, and then just straight up redo Dragon Ball GT. Seriously, I love how Toriyama just wiped up that shit stain before he left us. But he did manage to pull out a few good bits before he cleaned it all up. Wow, it's a really bad analogy. I'm sorry, Toriyama-sensei. Dragon Ball Daima has officially ended the whole non-canon canon debate thing. I even saw another content creator call Dragon Ball like a choose-your-own-adventure story, which it really has become. And I don't totally dislike it, but I am a little bit frustrated by it. But I'll get to that later. The doors have truly been blown open for anything to happen in Dragon Ball now. Like, I am 99% sure we're gonna get a Super Saiyan 5 transformation at some point. And I mean that Super Saiyan 5 transformation. The one that everyone my age and older looked up in 2005 on their shitty computer. You know, Goku with the white long hair and white fur. Now, what does that kind of look like to you? Yeah, looks like Super Saiyan 4 and Ultra Instinct had a baby. Look, I didn't call it, other people have been saying it, but it's definitely happening. Anyways, the point of this video is to talk about Daima and the future of Dragon Ball afterwards. So let's get into the story of Dragon Ball Daima. But first, what if I told you guys you can power up too? With Magic Mind's mental performance shot. If you've ever made a YouTube video before, then you know how difficult they can be. And sometimes when I'm editing these videos, it takes hours. And almost every time I hit a mental block. Sure, I could just go drink a coffee, but the caffeine and sugar will cause me to crash later. What's great about Magic Mind's mental shot is that it's an herbal formula that makes your coffee last longer. That's right, not only does this provide stress relief and mental clarity, but it'll keep you working all day. Using the code down below will get you up to 48% off your first subscription for the next 10 days or 20% off a one-time purchase. The story of Dragon Ball Daima revolves around Goma, and I guess Degasu. You see, Goma becomes the newly crowned king of the Demon Realm after Deborah runs off with Babidi. When he finds out the Z-Fighters defeated Majin Buu, he turns them all into kids because he can't deal with how powerful they are. Now, as I talk about Dragon Ball Daima, I am going to compare it to Dragon Ball GT just because it is kind of a remake. Like, let's be honest. So do I prefer this over Dragon Ball GT's beginning? Honestly, they're kind of both the same. Of course, the Z-Fighters can't undo the wish, so they embark to the Demon Realm to find out what's going on. This is where we get introduced to Glorio, who's GT Trunks' replacement. Sorry, GT Trunks, but you suck. Glorio is definitely a better addition to the team and way better than GT Trunks. Yeah, you think they did Gohan bad? GT Trunks is pretty rough.
To infiltrate Tsunama's lair and cut off his quake-producing whiskers.
Oh, well, I guess things can only get
Wedding
better.
bells ring.
It turns out the Demon Realm is divided up into 3 different worlds. So each world has a Dragon Ball and each Dragon Ball is guarded by a Tamagami. So yeah, the first couple of episodes are classic Dragon Ball adventures. And I love this. Unlike a lot of people, I actually like Dragon Ball GT's beginning episodes. They're just fun, slice of life. I like living in the Dragon Ball world. It's just fun. And Dragon Ball Daima definitely had me going back and wanting to watch original Dragon Ball. I just love Goku with his power pole adventuring around with funny and crazy things happening. I also like that Daima made it more of a point that their kid forms are much weaker. This gave the show more stakes, making the enemies more powerful. I think they mentioned that in Dragon Ball GT, Goku's a bit weaker, but I don't think he's like really much weaker. Like for instance, I think Super Saiyan 3 adult Vegeta is comparable to Super Saiyan 4 mini Goku. So take that for what you will. Beyond the adventure aspect of the story, I really liked all the lore bits that we got too. We learned more about where Supreme Kai comes from, where the Namekians come from, how Majin Buu is created, which is pretty crazy, and just more about the demon world and magic in general. I love how magic and energy are like 2 completely different things in Dragon Ball and they work very differently. Just makes me more excited to see Moro animated. I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but the series takes place between Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super. And the original trio of Super Saiyan transformations are the best things they got, which I love that because the golden hair transformations are they're the best. While the majority of the show is based around the adventure that they have in the Demon Realm, the final episodes are where the fights get insane. I mean, the animation throughout the whole series is top notch, but the final fight with Goma is absolutely insane. This is some of the best we've ever seen in Dragon Ball, including the movies. I think the only movie that really tops this is probably the Broly movie because it has that unique art style to it. This looks better than Battle of Gods. This looks better than Resurrection F. So us Dragon Ball fans got to eat real good. Every single fight in Dragon Ball Daima is beautifully animated and executed so well. Whether it's Goku versus Glorio, Vegeta versus the Tamagami, or even Majin Ku and Majin Du, is that their names? I mean, everything is so dynamic, intense, and just fluid. Look, they've seriously spoiled us here, and Dragon Ball Super better come back with some serious animation. I'm just saying, you can't do this to us. Now, overall, Dragon Ball Daima is such a fun, great Dragon Ball experience. But I do have a few gripes with it, and I'm gonna go over them right now. Okay, this isn't an issue anymore, but I was skeptical at first, and that's turning all the characters into kids. Look, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Dragon Ball GT would be viewed so much more differently nowadays if Goku was never turned into a kid. I think whatever rating you put that show at, I think it would get an instant bump up by 1 or even 2 points if Goku never got turned into a kid in that show. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. So going into Daima, I was very confused on why they would do this. If we didn't get to see them fight in their adult forms at the very end, I would have probably been annoyed, but since we did get that, I'm happy. You know, I feel like they've done this before with Goku, where he pulls out a new transformation and then later on he's like, oh, I've had that, I've been training. To me, I'm just like, all right, I guess. But in Dragon Ball GT, Goku was pushed to his very limits. I mean, he almost died. He was laying there on the ground, staring at the earth, pretending it was the moon, and then he turned into a great ape. I mean, that whole scene, that whole transformation lasts like over an episode. And the whole time, audience in Pan doesn't even know what's happening to Goku or what will happen to Goku. So for me personally, the original Dragon Ball GT transformation is better. Now, having said that, I like the Daima design more. The red hair on his head and his body just makes more sense to me. I never really understood why he had black hair and then red hair on his body. I also like that the fur around his chest has kind of like a demonic sort of design, I think. I don't know, it just looks more interesting. His eyes being red too just makes more sense. I felt like Super Saiyan 4 and Dragon Ball GT looks really cool, it really does. But I feel like it's just a bit mixed matched now that I look at it. So I think Toriyama took that original Super Saiyan 4 transformation. He looked at it and said, you know, it's pretty good. I'm just gonna make a few touch-ups here. And yeah, just brought it more to his vision. And my other main issue with the series is that it just ended too fast. Look, why do they keep doing this in animes and mangas? Stop ending these shows so fast. Naruto, My Hero Academia, Bleach, Dragon Ball. And when it comes to Dragon Ball Super ended too fast. Dragon Ball Daima ended too fast. I don't think Dragon Ball Z ended too fast, but Dragon Ball GT ended too fast. Like, guys, give us more time to breathe with our favorite characters. I love watching them fight, but I also do like watching them. I like the slice of life stuff. I hate when we get to the final episode of an anime and it starts with a fight. Come on, just give us another episode. Why do you rush it? But really, that's it. Dragon Ball Daima was like an 8 out of 10 experience for me. Very solid Dragon Ball show with a rushed ending, plot holes, and some inconsistencies. Now with Dragon Ball Daima over, I'm curious to see what happens with Dragon Ball. What new series or movie will we get? And will it even connect into the main canon? And what even is the main canon now? Is it the manga? Is it the anime? Is it Dragon Ball Z to Dragon Ball Daima? Where is Dragon Ball GT? You see, I don't know. This is kind of the problem they create when they do some of the things that they do in the show. Like, I'm all for Super Saiyan 4 and other things, but I just wish they could explain it a bit better. I mean, for instance, it really wouldn't be that hard just to say that transformation is tied to the demon realm somehow, and then later in Dragon Ball Super, they can reintroduce it by having them go back, and then he gets the form again, and then, I mean, come on, I came up with that in like 2 seconds. Either way, guys, I'm curious to know your thoughts on the series, Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and the future of Dragon Ball as a whole. Where do you think the series is gonna go now, and will we ever see Super Saiyan 4 Goku again? And I'm not talking about in Dragon Ball Heroes. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, like, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.